Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. And thank you for taking time out of your Wednesday morning to come hear me speak. And welcome to this educational presentation, where today I want to talk to you about a great and simple but powerful way to identify extreme moves in just 3 steps. Now, on our platform, you can actually go through this process each and every day. You can start actually doing this as early as this afternoon if you'd like. Let me show you an example of what I'm talking about here. Let's look at this chart here in SMPS. Now, most traders looking at this will say, well, yes, we're in kind of a short-term uptrend. The stock is going up. But, you know, Steve, that trading guru I subscribe to and I go to his chat room says we're overbought. And, you know, we would have much rather have bought it down here, but now it's a little bit overextended. It's a little bit overbought. So I'm not sure if I want to buy anything right now. I'll wait for a little pullback or a little sell-off. Well, using this 3-step process on that very same day that you thought it was overbought, or that some so-called guru told you it was overbought, a buy signal was actually generated telling you that that's the beginning of an extreme trend to the upside. And as you can see, the stock took off, and potentially you could have captured upwards of 70 points coming into just last week. So this is what we're going to be talking about, identifying these extreme types of moves in just 3 simple steps. And as I say simple, I mean it's extremely simple, but you'll see how powerful this is. Now, you can only go through this process of identifying these moves by applying our platform, the PTS Primo charting platform that actually identifies these extreme moves in advance. So welcome to this educational presentation. My name is Steven Primo, president and founder of Specialist Trading. If you're new to my webinars, I've been trading for 45 years now. I started my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I was on the floor for 16 years, and 9 of those years I was a specialist. That's where we get the name Specialist Trading. The specialist is someone who made markets in roughly about 50 or 60 stocks. So I did that. I made markets through the crash of 1987 and the bull market that followed. I left the floor in the early 90s to trade for my own account and also to manage money. And roughly about 15 years ago, I teamed up with Pro Trader Strategies with one goal in mind. And that was not to force feed signals to traders around the world and tell them what to buy or what to sell, but actually just to teach traders how to trade. And you'll see that attention to detail in today's class, because that's our sole mission. The only service we provide is education, so that you can ultimately be in charge of your own trading destiny. Now, before we begin, we are required to share this with you, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results today using these 3 steps in order to achieve this process, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And since we are first and foremost an educational company, all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, once again, if you'd like more education on a daily basis, please feel free to follow us on Twitter. There's our handle right there. I would suggest copying that down, because every day I post different signals our strategies or techniques have just recently generated. I also post financial bits of wisdom so that you can kind of carry you along your way with some sound fundamental education. So there's lots of great free education on a daily basis. Please feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, I see a lot of new names today in today's presentation. Thank you for joining us. Now, something I say all the time, we're unlike other webinars you may have attended, because a lot of webinars you may have gone to in the past, I'm sure, tell you what they think the market's going to do, or they tell you what the best stock is to buy, or what the stock is you should avoid, or what market you should be trading, or even they tell you what the perfect time frame you should be trading, okay? Now, that goes entirely against our philosophy of education, because it's our opinion that that's really what stands in the way of your success. Because, see, the entire industry is based upon you going to a website or subscribing to some newsletter or some blog, or watching the guys on TV, or waiting for an earnings announcement to come out in order for you to decide what to do. All your decisions are based on someone or something else telling you what to buy, what to sell, what's the perfect time frame, what the market's going to do. Think of it. Listen to the people on TV. That's all they're basically doing, is telling you what you should be trading or what you should not be trading, what the market's going to be doing. And that, in my opinion, is why most traders fail. It's been estimated that 85% of all traders fail. So obviously, this type of education is not working. When you blindly follow someone else, basically what you're saying to the market is, I don't know what to do. I don't have enough experience. I haven't been trading long enough. I don't have enough education. I didn't have an MBA in finance. So I'll let you tell me what to do. And that's why most traders fail. The service Pro Trader Strategies and my company Specialist Trading provide is we give you all this information that has stood the test of time, these techniques, these strategies, these methods that really show high levels of consistency. We work with you hand in hand so that you can decide what you want to buy. You can decide what you think the market's going to be doing. And we have so many students around the world. We have students now in over 115 countries in every state in the United States that tell us for the first time in years, if not decades, they've become a consistent trader because now they feel confident enough to make their own decisions. So that's our goal. If you've come here today thinking, well, this guy's going to tell me what he thinks the market's going to do. Nope, you've come to the wrong place. That's for you to decide. Now, we give you the tools and education in order for you to do that. So as you can see here, my goal is not to force feed you signals or tell you how to trade. My goal as an educator is to teach you how to trade with the specialist edge, okay? And you'll see that today in today's educational class. Now, before we begin, a few announcements. Remember, this is a Zoom presentation, but it's not an interactive one. It's a static PowerPoint presentation. So please remember to disable all cameras and microphones. We will take questions at the very end of today's class so that we don't bog down this presentation and stop for every slide. Okay, so if you have a question, kindly remember it or write it down, and I promise I will get to each and every one at the very close of today's presentation. And lastly, if you're having technical issues, if you can't see or hear me clearly, or if you have to leave early, or if you have a trade going on and you want to focus on that, I totally understand. So for that reason, this is being recorded, and each and every one of you will get a link to this recording at the end of the presentation, so you can watch it at your own leisure, okay? All right, with that out of the way, why don't we begin today's educational presentation? I like to start out by something that I learned while I was on the floor. I know a lot of people don't believe this, but when I first started 45 years ago, I struggled tremendously. In fact, I didn't think I was going to be trading for much longer because I couldn't make a dime. I was doing the same things that probably most of you have been taught, you know, listen to the earnings, listen to the guys on TV, or wait for the jobless numbers or the economic indicators to come out. And none of that seemed to work consistently. Sure, every once in a while it would work, but over time it really didn't, okay? So here's what my mentors taught me. And here's the theme of today's presentation. It is a gambler's mindset to try and pick tops and bottoms, but it's a professional mindset to trade with the trend. Now think of it. How many strategies have you traded? How many times have you listened to someone on TV or in a chat room or trading rooms telling you this is bottomed out or this is topped out? It's time to sell. It's time to buy. It's too low. It's oversold, right? That is a gambler's mindset, because that's no different from going to the slot machines and thinking you're going to hit a big jackpot, right? Now, just like the slot machines, sure, they are designed to give you a winner every once in a while. If you go and play the worst odd machine in Vegas, it's the slot machines, but they are designed to give you a winner so that you'll keep on staying there, because they know eventually you're going to give all your money away and it's going to give them all back and then some. It's the same way with trying to pick tops and bottoms. Every once in a while, just like the slot machines, you will get a nice winner. And that gives you a false sense of security that this really works. Take it from someone who traded that way. Trust me, I was doing that 45 years ago. Every once in a while, I'd have a fantastic win. And the funny thing is, a month later, I gave it all back and then some. So they're designed to make you feel good about yourself when you're picking tops and bottoms and feel like, wow, I got out at the exact top, or wow, I bought at the exact bottom, but they're not consistent. So it's a gambling mentality trying to go for that jackpot. But professionals don't ever try to pick tops and bottoms. Now, sure, sometimes it happens, but that's not their goal. What they're trying to do is trade with the trend. That is what will give you consistency. That is what will give you longevity. Not picking a top or a bottom or going against the grain, swimming upstream, but by trading in sync with what the market wants to do. And that brings us to what we're going to be talking about today. The tool that we have for discovering these extreme trends is the PTS XT. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's an indicator designed to identify these extreme trends. And the beauty of it is it will identify them in advance. You see, so often, trending type of strategies or methods are good. They're in sync with the trend, but oftentimes you find out when the trend is already halfway through. This has one job: to identify an extreme trend, not just an average trend, but an extreme trend in advance before it actually takes off. So as we look at this example here, an older chart in FCX, this is a weekly chart in Freeport McMillan, all right? Obviously, in hindsight, there's an extreme trend to the upside, right? These are weekly bars. How could we take an advantage of this? Well, here's what the PTS XT does. It paints a yellow block around an extreme uptrend, all right? Now, it doesn't do this in hindsight, and it doesn't, paint, and change the paint display. Once it displays something red, or I should say not red, yellow, it continues as long as the proprietary formula is telling you that we are in an extreme uptrend, okay? Now, this will work to the downside as well. As we look at Airbnb here, okay? Airbnb, obviously a strong downward move. Look how a red block now was painted around these bars, starting with this one right here, and continued all the way down because it was an extreme downtrend, okay? Now, the PTS XT is based on multiple proprietary indicators and their relationship to one another. Now, we made it a proprietary tool because, one, it's very cumbersome and very difficult for you to have all these indicators on your screen and trying to figure out what's on, what's up, what's down. Okay, is this an extreme trend? So we've taken all the hard work out of it for you and made it into a color display, a block display, so that there's really nothing you have to do other than look for those blocks, okay? And then lastly, and most importantly, in my opinion, it's official. The PTS XT is our most popular trading tool around the world. And the reason why we know this is because it's being copied by a couple of other websites using the exact same display, thinking that they know the proprietary formula we're using, where it's not the same type of results. But I guess, that's the extreme form of flattery when you're copying someone, right? But it is our most popular trading tool. Why? Because of its simplicity as well as the power behind it. Okay, so let's go over this simple 3-step daily trade process. You can start doing this right away. Okay, this is how simple this is. And remember, you can only apply this process on the PTS Primo charting platform because it actually is designed to be simple so that it can teach traders how to trade. Remember, our job as an educator is to teach you how to apply these processes and then let you decide where you want to get in, where you want to get out, where you want to place your stops. We give you multiple different opportunities and chances to decide for yourself, but ultimately, out of this buffet of different examples, you can decide what to pick and choose. All right, that's how you become a consistent trader, and that's our job as a teacher, to provide you with these things that have high levels of consistency. Okay, step 1: on or after the close of the trading day, conduct a nightly PTS XT scan. Now, the reason why we say on is because our scan was designed to be so simple and so effective that, let's say, 5 or 6 minutes before the close of the day, if you're interested in a stock or an equity that you think is, getting ready, that you've been interested in, well, 5 or 6 minutes before the close, you can run a scan and you'll have 2 or 3 minutes to decide whether you want to buy or sell, depending if there is a signal or not. So that's why we say on or after. Now, if you work all day and you have to come home and see, that's just as simple. You can see that after the close, you'll run a scan as well. So on our platform, as you open up the platform, you'll see this interface right here. Go up to the green strategy tab with all our techniques and methods up here and click on PTS XT Extreme Trend. And you'll see a downward menu here, okay, a drop-down menu. Go to the bottom and click on Scan, all right? Once you do that, this page appears. What you want to do is look to the far left over here, okay, where it says Load Symbol List. Now, we provide you with symbol lists, anywhere from S&P 500, the Dow Jones, futures, currency pairs, different markets such as the Asian markets, Toronto exchanges. So you can decide for yourself. You can make up your own basket of stocks, but click on Load Symbols. And let's say, for all intents and purposes, we clicked on the NASDAQ 100, okay? As you can see right here. All right, in a matter of seconds, you'll see the spreadsheet come down. All right. So what you want to do after you see the spreadsheet is just click on scan. And that's it. And in about less than a minute, you'll see a series of green and red horizontal bars. The green bars mean that those particular equities are currently in a yellow block, meaning an extreme up block. The red ones mean that those current equities or stocks are in a current downward extreme block. All right. So this brings us to the next step. Step number 2, we only want to select stocks to trade that have a bar count of 1. So what does this mean? Well, this means that they've only been in a yellow block or a red block for 1 bar. And that's if it's going to take off, if it's going to be a very powerful uptrend to the extreme uptrend or an extreme downtrend, that's the bar you want to get in on, right? The very first one. So we want to see stocks on the spreadsheet that have a bar count of 1. So as you look in this column right here where it says bar count, we look down and we see all of these stocks here that have the 1 label. These are all equities that have just been in a yellow extreme uptrend block for 1 day. Okay. So you can look through these, look at their price, and then you can decide for yourself. Remember, you're in charge. We're providing you with this information, but you can decide to take 1 or 2 examples to trade. You can decide to maybe buy options on one. You can decide to not take any of them because they don't meet your needs for trading. You're in charge. We're providing you with this high probability setups. So this brings us to step 3, which is once again, putting the power in your hands and simply to trade. It's your choice how you want to trade this. Now, once again, in our course, we teach you different ways to trade. We teach you different ways to enter, different ways to exit, different ways to manage the trade. But ultimately, you can decide how you want to do it. So as we look at this example in FTNT, Fortnite, this is an older example. Once again, doesn't look like much is happening here. Sure, it's going up, but not enough for me to get interested in it. But if you would have taken a scan that night, you would have seen this was bar 1 count. So let's say you decided to buy on the close. Let's say you bought 5 minutes before the end of the day, okay? In the next 3 weeks, the stock went up 22 points. Not a bad little trade, right? Now, do you notice nothing here was mentioned in terms of economic indicators? There was no bringing up of earnings or support and resistance, or what the market was going to do, whether it was overbought or oversold, or who was in office. You see, those are all the things we've been taught that are supposed to work. And take it from someone who was using those exact same methods 45 years ago. And I often say they didn't work for me then, so why would you think they're going to miraculously start working now? Remember, 85% of all traders fail. And when I say fail, I don't mean they have a bad month or a bad couple of months. Failing means that they lose all the money that they set aside for trading. That's because we're taking ourselves out of the game. You're basing your decisions off someone or something else. The PTS XT is just there for you to decide. It's up to you to decide whether you want to take these signals or not. It's up to you to decide where you want to buy or where you want to sell, where you want to exit. It's totally in your hands. Here's another example. As we look at TCOM, TCOM, Tripcom.group.limited. As we see, it's going lower. Most traders would say, hey, Steve, it's kind of oversold here. I think I should buy this. That chat room I go to says that, there's major support here. That's where all the institutions are buying. And I think I want to buy here too. Well, once again, is there any consistency in that type of trading? I was taught to trade with the institutions and all the support 45 years ago, and it didn't work at all. And trust me, there are tons of traders that lose tremendous amounts of money betting on support and resistance. Much better to listen to what the market's saying. The way we do that is by applying the PTS XT. And if we had taken the scan, once again, this is bar count 1 of an extreme downtrend that's just about to take place. Remember, if you're going to get in, if it's going to work, I'm not going to promise you and tell you that they all work fantastically. But if it's going to be a big downward move, at least that's the move you want to get in. This will have the least risk as possible. So you could have decided to sell. That would have been a wise decision because the stock fell 15 points in 2 months. Now, what a lot of our traders and students do around the world is they say, well, Steve, I really don't like to short. I don't like to buy puts. I'm a long trader. Well, that's fine. So what a lot of students do is they'll use a sell signal here to exit the trade, because if there's going to be an extreme move to the downside, you don't want to be long, right? So if you're holding the stock and you get a red block, well, you can use that as your stop placement as well to exit out of the trade. Lots of different ways to apply it. Ultimately, you decide how you want to apply it. Okay, so you understand this three-step simple process. Let's look at some recent examples now that happened within the last month, some within the last couple of days. And remember, you can only apply this process on our platform. This is the PTS Primo charting platform that identifies these extreme moves in advance by applying this three-step process, okay? Okay, let's look at PayX here. All right, once again, it's been going up, but it's not, we're only looking at 3 bars. How can we get a clear-cut idea? Well, if you had taken a scan that night, you would have seen that this was a bar 1 count. And at this point, you have a decision to make because remember, you're in charge and your decision is either to buy or to be in the sidelines. I wouldn't sell this if some guy in a chat room says it's overbought. I would just simply decide to either get involved or not. Let's say you do decide to buy on the close. Good decision. Stock went up 20 points coming into last month. So 20 points in about a month or so. Not a bad little trade, right? Let's look at NVEI. Once again, this is going much lower. Most traders would say, well, Steve, I'm not going to touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. Or maybe there's some good support here. I better go to that TV channel where they talk about what to buy and sell and see what they say. And let's say that the guy says, this is a good buy. It's cheap. You want to buy this. Well, not according to the PTS XT. Even though you may think it's oversold, this was the first block or first bar in a red block. So you decide to sell 16 points coming into last month, okay? How about Disney, all right? Only looking at 2 bars here. How can we make a decision? This was just about 3 weeks ago. How can I make a decision on this by only looking at 2 bars? Well, you don't have to. Remember, the work has been taken out of it for you. We've developed this with programmers into a color bar tool. So all you have to do is look and see what the color is of the block. And right here, there was a yellow block around that bar. So there's really not a lot of work to do other than for you to decide where you want to get in and where you want to place your stop. And we teach you all these different variables, upwards of 7 different ways to do this in the course, and you can decide which one feels most comfortable. Either way, that would have been a nice little trade because just last week, you could have been up 24 points, okay? Now, there was absolutely no sign of this thing taking off 3 weeks ago, but look what happened after that, okay? Even a gap up here. All right, let's look at NXPI. Once again, looks like it's going lower, but someone could say, hey, maybe we should buy it right here. Nope. Sell signal was generated, first block in the red block, 29 points, okay? How about this example in TTD, the trade desk? All right, kind of going sideways to higher. We have a buy signal here, the first bar, 27 points to the upside. Now, this is the way most traders, myself included, would usually buy in the past. When I was on the floor, when you'd see something open up like this, you'd buy it thinking, oh, this is great news, right? Boy, some great earnings or some good thing came out about the company. So here's where you want to buy. And everyone did the same thing. That's why the stock would gap up, okay? So we'd be long roughly about right here. And we're thinking we're all proud of ourselves. But isn't it funny how before that announcement came out, look how the PTS XT had already triggered a signal for our PTS XT students, telling them, most likely, there's a high probability of an extreme up move. That's how sensitive this tool is. That's why it's our most popular tool amongst our students around the world. Okay, in ILMN, once again, the first bar in a red block, that's the most high probability bar to get in. You can either buy the puts, you can buy some type of spread with a downward bias, or short the stock, or let's say you're long the stock. Well, this would have been a good place to get out of your position because the stock fell 42 points in the next 2 or 3 weeks. How about right here? We're looking at Apple, okay? This was just about a month ago. The stock was firming up and a buy signal was generated right here in the beginning to mid of July. And as we've all seen Apple, it took off coming into last week, 30 points, just continued to go straight up. The point is, with most trending techniques, by this time right here, we decide we're in an uptrend. And this is where most students get in. And they say, hey, well, I'm making money. Sure, but wouldn't you have rather gotten in down here? That's the beauty of the PTS XT. All right, AVGO obviously been going lower. Most students would say, well, Steve, I got to buy here. It's too oversold, but a sell signal was generated. This means that the proprietary formula is deeming that this has a lot more room to go to the downside. And as we can see, coming into July last month, it was down 78 points after a signal was generated. Here's an example in FN, okay? Once again, buy signal generated on the first bar, up 32 points. Here's another gap up that happened just a couple of weeks ago or last week. This is where most students buy. They'll say, hey, that's great news. I got to get in. That's why the stock gaps up higher, all right? This is where the smart money is usually selling because they bought it weeks ago, roughly about 20 points lower. All right, let's look at BNGO. Now, a lot of people say, well, Steve, I don't trade high-priced stocks like that. I trade inexpensive stocks. Well, that's great because it makes absolutely no difference. The proprietary formula of the PTS XT has nothing to do with the price, has nothing to do if it's an inexpensive or an expensive stock. It just goes off these indicators and their relationship to one another. So it doesn't know or care what the price is. So as you can see here on this inexpensive $2 stock, a buy signal was generated, and coming into last week, the stock was up 2.5 points in a big up move. Now I know 2.5 points doesn't seem a lot, but remember that's an over 100% price gain in about 2 or 3 weeks. What if you bought Tesla? What if you bought Google and you made over 100% in about 2 weeks? Wouldn't you be very happy for yourself? Well, it's no different. It's all relative. Now you can do it on inexpensive stocks. You can trade this on expensive stocks. Here's a $500 stock, IDXX. A sell signal was generated and the stock fell 165 points, okay? So that, percentage-wise, what are we talking about? Over 25, 30%. All right, let's go through the process. Once again, let's say we're interested in this stock, SMPS, but remember, the guy we subscribe to, the chat room we go to, the trading room, all the people in there are saying, you can't buy this thing. It's way too overbought. Well, first thing you want to do is check and see what the oscillator says. Click on the PTS XT Extreme Trend, click on Scan, and it's telling you that the market wants to go higher. We don't care about some so-called overbought or oversold tool. We're only listening. Remember, overbought or oversold is like a gambling mentality. Those will work every once in a while, just like the slot machines. You'll have a nice winner, but over time, you really won't be successful. You will be more successful being in sync with the trend. And that's what the PTS XT does for you. It tells you if an extreme trend is most likely about to start. Not guaranteed, but there's a high probability that it will continue. So let's say you decided to buck the trend that the people are telling you in that chat room and go with the trend. Well, 72 points or 70 points coming into just last week, okay? Almost straight up. That's how simple this process is. Now, I know that not everyone trades stocks, so let's look at some other markets and some other time frames, okay? Here's a weekly chart of DraftKings, okay? Market has been going lower on a weekly basis. Rather than trying to buy some inexpensive stock, the PTS XT is signaling a downward move to the extreme downward liking. And as you can see, it would have been advantageous rather than looking for a buy here to sell. And the stock went down 29, almost 30 points. I can remember at this time in 2021, DraftKings is a gambling stock, and everyone was saying, you got to buy this. It's so expensive. There's so much good news about gambling. You got to buy it. Now it's saying, I don't understand how people can do this because, we have a PTS XT red block around, and these buyers just keep on buying. This is why most traders lose money. Here's another example for all you currency pair traders. Here's a 4-hour chart of the dollar yen. This was just last week, I believe last Tuesday, okay? On a 4-hour time frame, there was a yellow block painted around this bar here. You could have bought the dollar yen and coming in just 2 days later had a potential 300 pip gain. That's $3,000 per unit in just a couple of days on the currency pairs. Here's a older chart of the E-mini on a 10-minute time frame. 20 potential points to the downside in a red block, then 60 potential points to the upside in a yellow block. How about Bitcoin? Okay, this is earlier this year. Here was a sell signal generated. You could have potentially captured nearly 11,000 points to the downside. Or once again, we know that not everyone likes to short Bitcoin. So let's say you were long and you had this sell signal right here. You could have used this to get out and gotten back into Bitcoin a lot cheaper. If you trade commodities, here's an older example of bean oil. Same process applies. It doesn't matter whether you're trading stocks, commodities, futures, Bitcoin, cryptos, makes no difference. The proprietary tool can work on any market and any time frame. And lastly, monthly charts. If you're an investor, this is not just for day traders or daily bar traders or swing traders. Let's look at this monthly chart of Costco going all the way back to 2017. Okay, all you have to do is the same process, apply the PTS scan, and then see where the first bar was on this month. And with each one of these different bars, you could have had a nice trade. The first one, you could have bought right here, second one right here, third one right here, or potentially with all three of these setups, you could have potentially captured over 400 points, all right? That's how powerful this tool is. Works in any market, any time frame, and in any direction. Okay, let's review. The simple three-step process we talked about. The first thing you want to do is conduct a nightly scan, a PTS XT scan on our platform, okay? And this process takes, trust me, less than a minute and a half. I do it every day with multiple different markets, and I couldn't do it if I didn't have the ease and accessibility of our platform because it makes it so simple. The same scan would have taken me 6-7 hours to do when I was trading on the floor. Just looking at the Dow Jones 30 every night. And we've made it so simple for you, it will take you just a couple of minutes, okay? And once you conduct that scan of whatever market you're looking for, remember, we provide you with all these symbol lists. Select stocks with a bar count of 1. That means that the yellow or the red block has only been painted around one bar, the very first bar. And looking back at those examples I just shared with you, if it's going to be a very big extreme run to the upside or to the downside, wouldn't it be obvious that that's the bar you want to get in on, right? The very first bar, because usually it takes off from that point. So that's what you want to do. You want to look for a bar count of 1. And then lastly, trade. And what we mean by trade, we're not trying to be facetious or anything, but it's another way of saying you're in charge. That's our philosophy of education. We provided you with high probability setups. We show you different ways to enter, different ways to exit, different ways to place your stop, different ways to manage the trade. And then it's up to you. That's what we mean by trade. Remember, our philosophy is you should make your own trading decisions. We don't have chat rooms or trading rooms of specialist trading because that would be doing you a disservice. We'd be telling you what to buy or what to sell, and we don't believe in that. We don't have a nightly signal service where we tell you what to buy or sell. Once again, goes entirely against our philosophy. In our opinion, the reason why most traders fail is because they're going through that process, which is blindly giving away their power to someone else. You have to be in charge. This is not a hobby. This is very serious. This is a profession, okay? This is your hard-earned money that you've worked and toiled for, and you don't want to give it away for someone else to make the decision for. You've got to be in charge, and you can do that in this simple 3-step process. Remember this theme and ask yourself how you're trading. It is a gambler's mindset to try and pick tops and bottoms, okay? But it's a professional mindset to trade with the trend. Every professional trader I know trades in some capacity with the trend, okay? Now, when I was trading on the floor of the exchange, there were literally hundreds of traders on the floor, 200 or 300 traders at a time. And some of these traders made large amounts of money, hundreds of thousands, even millions in a small amount of time, maybe just in a couple of days, okay? And guess what? Every one of those traders that made huge amounts of money eventually gave it all back, okay? That's not trading, that's gambling, okay? You just have to know the difference. And if you have the money to burn, if you don't mind having this roller coaster in your profit and loss statement of where you're up sharply and then giving it all back, well, then that's fine. Go ahead and keep doing that. But if you want to be trading not for just a couple of good months, but maybe a couple of good years or a couple of good decades, you have to be in sync with the trend. The good news is the PTS XT is designed simply to identify that. Okay, so ask yourself before you ask me questions, do you think this indicator, the PTS XT, can help your trading for the remainder of 2022? We only have about 4 months left. It's time to take your trading back on track. Time to take charge of your trading. So because of that, we have a great attendee special offer for all of you taking time out of your Wednesday. We're going to offer you our Trade in the Express Lane special. This is the PTS XT extreme trend that generates these high probability zones, these high probability blocks. Remember, you can apply it to any market, any time frame. You can trade it with your current strategy. A lot of our students say, listen, Steve, I like my trading strategy. So all I do is I still trade my strategy, but I will only take buy signals if they're in a yellow block, or I'll only take sell signals if they're in a yellow block. That's another way to apply it. And we always say that's great. If you're in charge and if you feel comfortable that way, then go ahead and do it. That's what we encourage. Now, you can also build your own strategy based off these blocks, okay? The PTS XT will give you the confidence to pull the trigger. Remember, you can also apply it to day trading as well. Now, this process that we went over, this 3-step process, can only be achieved on our platform. So what we're going to do is we're going to give new customers a full year free of the platform if you sign up for our course. This is a great savings. You're going to be saving thousands of dollars just off this alone, okay? So you're going to receive a full year of the platform. And the beauty of this is you're not just going to get the PTS XT and that's it. There are a host of other tools, techniques, and methods on our platform that you won't find anywhere else. These are all things that I've accumulated in my 45 years, many that I took from the trading floor years, and that you won't find on any other platform. Things like our enhanced buy-sell line, 4 different ways to tell you the overall trend, a strength of trend tool that oftentimes will give you an advance notice when a trend is running out of steam. It's a great tool to use in concert with the PTS XT. Auto-generated exit levels. This is just one exit technique that's auto-generated on the platform. With a click of a button, you can see where these exit levels are. Over 90 of the most prominent technical indicators, along with personalized tech support. But here is what I feel is worth its weight in gold, and that's our signal scanner, which I said before. I have a pet peeve with signal scanners because I've traded any platform you can think of. I've traded. I don't want to mention any names, and most of them are not up to my standards. They're so complicated to use. I'm sure you're thinking the same thing about some certain platforms. I'm probably right there with you. They're so complicated and you can't figure out how to even bring up a chart. It takes you just hours to figure that out. Well, we made the PTS Primo charting platform extremely simple, especially the signal scanner. I shared with you how simple it is. Let me share with you what you could have scanned for in the last couple of weeks. And you would have had these signals, because I know a lot of times you'll go to webinars and you'll see some examples that are just fantastic. I mean, they made tons of money. And then you look at the dates and they're like a year or two old, right? I want to show you things that happened in the last month, in the last couple of weeks, in the last week, okay? So let's say on the 27th, which was just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, you scanned and you saw that in the spiders, a buy signal was generated using the PTS XT. There was the first yellow block on the 27th. So you could use this as a market directional tool. You could use this to actually go along the spiders and maybe buy some options. It's up to you. But either way, we all know what happened coming into just a few days ago. The market went up, and that was a 30-point gain in the spiders. That's the ETF that represents the S&P 500. So you could have used this not to even buy the spiders, but just to say, hey, I think there's going to be a rally in the market. Because if there's a rally in the spiders, for all intents and purposes, the market's going to go up, right? So you could have bought a stock that you were interested in that was in the S&P 500. Now, 30 points may not seem like a lot, but that was over 2,000 Dow Jones points, okay? The market went up over 2,000 points just based off this signal. Now, that was about 3 weeks ago. This just happened last week, okay? On the 18th, that's what's Thursday. Had you run a scan Thursday night, you would have seen, 5 minutes before the close, that there was a red block painted around Zoom, okay? The very platform that we're using to present this webinar, okay? All right, it was a sell signal. Now, it didn't tell you how low, it didn't tell you how long, but the PTS XT was signaling that there's probably an extreme move to the downside coming, and you should be out or at least be short this stock. And look what happened. In the next 3 days, the stock fell 18 points. And I believe there was some announcement that came out about the company on this day, the 23rd, which was just yesterday. Okay, that's what caused the down opening. All right. Isn't it funny how 3 days in advance, the PTS XT gave and generated a sell signal? This is the beauty of this tool. You could have taken advantage of this just about 3 or 4 days ago. So Remember, once again, if you go to webinars and they show you some great examples and some great trades, look at the date. Many of them are months, if not years old. These examples that I always try to give my students, I try to share with you what happened in the last week, okay? Take your trading to the next level with the original PTS XT Extreme Trend Indicator, all right? If you're struggling, if you're having difficulty, if you can't make ends meet with your trading, I know exactly what it's like. I was there. It lasted a couple of years for me, okay? I know what you're going through. If I had seen and had access to the PTS XT at that time, I would have jumped on board because that's how simple it is, and that's how much I think it can help you become a consistent trader. So here's how to take advantage of this, okay? Remember, this is all going to come with a full year of the platform. Contact Pro Trader Strategies for this Extreme Trend special offer, okay? The regular price is normally $49.95. We're going to discount that today, actually a very, very deep discount. Rather than paying close to $5,000, we're only going to charge a one-time payment of $497. That's not $4,097. That's $497, less than $500, a one-time payment, and then just a small monthly payment of $97 per month, okay? That comes with a full year of the platform absolutely free. This is a tremendous, tremendous offer to get your feet planted on the ground and get your trading back on track. Now, if you want to pay in full, we'll still discount it. $500, okay? You'll say $500, we'll drop the price down to $44.95. If you don't want a monthly payment, you just want to get in right now, one-time payment of $44.95. And new customers, remember, receive 1 year free platform. So this is just a great, great offer. You're saving thousands and thousands of dollars to get into this great, great tool. Remember, this is our most popular trading tool, and you can see why. Because it's so simple, and I can't think of a better way to get on board with a one-time payment of $497. Wow, this is an amazing deal, and only $97 per month. The reason why I'm so surprised is because I don't establish the pricing. That's Pro Trader Strategies, my sister site. They're in charge of all that. And usually when I give these prices at the end of the presentation, it's closer to the original price, which is $4,500 or maybe even $49. But $497, that's an extremely discounted price. Here's how to take advantage of this. As I said, Pro Trader Strategies is in charge of all the pricing, all the discounts. You can call them directly at area code 310-598-6677. They have trading consultants manning the phones right now. They would be more than happy to take your order over the phone, or even just answer any question about pricing or about the PTS XT in terms of data and the platform or tech support. They'd be more than happy to do that because they're in charge of all that. They're in charge of that side of the business, okay? Now, that link you see at the very bottom is the link that will take you to the info page as well as the sign-up page if you'd like to sign up online. It's not a live link. You'd have to copy and paste that onto your browser, but they've just posted a live link onto the chat box. If you want to open up the chat box window, they would be happy to answer any questions, or you can click on that link in the chat box window and find out more info for yourself, okay? Now, I see we have some questions. I promised I would reserve the last 10 or 15 minutes, so I'll answer all these questions. First one is, how do you know when to exit using this system? Well, remember, we have different ways to exit, upwards of 7 different ways in our courses, and that's all taught in the course. I just didn't want to give away the farm in this because it wouldn't be fair to our students around the world who already own the PTS XT and are saying, hey, how come you're giving away all the information for free here? So we provide all of our students with that, multiple ways and different ways to exit in the course, okay? Good question. Next one is, what means X points in terms of price dollars, okay? When you say times points in terms of price dollars, I'm not really sure what you mean. And when I say price dollars, I just mean, when you said the price points in terms of price dollars, I think what you're asking is how much does that transfer into price dollars? Well, that all determines on how many shares you have. So in other words, if there was an example that showed like the S&P or the spiders that made 30 points, if I had 100 shares, well, then I made $3,000, okay? 100 times 30 is 3,000. If I had only 1 share, then I made 30. So the way you would do it, I guess, if that's the question you're asking, is figure out how many shares you have and then multiply that by the points. So if you have 50 shares, and you made 20 points, 50 times 20 would come out to $1,000 profit, okay? It can also be losses as well, but we rarely risk that much on any of our trades, okay? When will we be able to use rain bars on PTS charts? That's a good question, but once again, since that's more of a data and a tech support question, that's a question for Pro Trader Strategies, okay? Since they're in charge of that. My job as an educator is more teaching you how to trade and teaching you how to apply this in your own trading plan. Pro Trader Strategies answers all the data questions and all the tech support questions, such as rain bar. So I would, it's a good question, but I would refer that to Pro Trader Strategies. I would just ask them that. You can either email them or call them right now directly, and they'd be happy to answer that for you, okay? All very good questions. Someone is asking, how long is this offer for? Well, usually these offers only last for a week or even less than a week. I would say, just to be safe, it's probably just going to come up to this weekend, and then that's it. Because next week I'll be giving another webinar on a completely different method or technique with a different pricing discount. So most likely this will have expired. So if you're really interested, maybe contact Pro Trader Strategies. There's absolutely no obligation, and think about it and make a decision if you're serious about it by this weekend, because I would think after that it may expire. Okay. Okay. Remember, Pro Trader Strategies is my sister site, and they're in charge of all the pricing. They're in charge of all the tech support. They're in charge of all the discounts, and they can take your order, and they're very flexible. There's absolutely no obligation. I know a lot of times, myself included, whenever I've bought things over the phone, I've often think I don't want to call because they're going to try and sell me something. They're very flexible, and they're just there to help you. Sure, if you want to place an order over the phone, they'll take it. But if you just want to get more information, they'd be happy to work with you and happy to give you an offer on a price or anything else you're interested in, okay? So please don't feel intimidated. Give them a call, and they can answer any question concerning pricing or tech support. And they're very simple and easy to talk with, okay? Okay, if there are no further questions, I guess that brings us to the end of the class today. I hope you learned something about our philosophy of teaching, about how we want to put you in charge. Because once again, in our opinion, in my 45 years of trading, the only traders who are still trading are the ones that make their own trading decisions. These traders, myself included, don't listen to news. We don't care about earnings or interest rates. We're not concerned with what's going on in a trading room. We don't watch TV to find out what they like and they think the market's going to do. We make our own decisions based off a plan that we know has high levels of consistency, and we just stick with it. And that's how we're able to trade 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road. So that's what my goal is, to instill that in all of you so that you can have really longevity in trading the market. So I hope you saw that in today's educational class. Now, as we close and take one last look at our disclaimer, I just want to say thank you so much once again for taking time out of your Wednesday. I know you're busy. I know you're probably trading, but I hope and really look forward to all of you becoming students of mine in the PTS XT course. Thank you so much for listening. Hope to see you in class. Bye-bye.